Good evening, everyone. It is Monday night. It is time to get into the Monday night DJNTV shows. Hey, how are you guys doing? You haven't seen me for like almost a week. And when I come back, I bring with you one of the experts in marketing in the wedding industry. I have got Rick Brewer with us tonight. Good evening, Rick.
Hi, John. Good to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me tonight. We're going to talk weddings and specifically how to sell tonight's going to be more of a John asking Rick questions because John is wondering what he's going to do with the bridal shows coming up in January. So the rest of you can just follow along and watch as John asks questions and looks dumb and Rick answers all the questions and makes me sound much smarter by the end of this segment. Can that work? Yeah, that could work. That could work. If you're watching us out on Facebook, thank you for watching. There's links down in the description below. You can go out to YouTube. I'm going to follow the YouTube chat as best I can. The Facebook one comes and goes and back and forth, and I try to follow, but I can't do too much with that. So make sure you're out there on Facebook. We've got Rick tonight. We're going to talk beginning lighting with Jordan with our second session, and then we've got Ryan Berger coming in and talking about Mobile Beat Las Vegas, and he's going to give us some things tonight, I think, that are like world debut information. So I'm a little looking forward to that. Anyway, Rick, let's dive into it. Bridal shows are coming up here, and one of the struggles I'm having is I'm one of the old guys in the room. And I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm one of the more experienced DJs in the room, and I hear DJs, there's a lot of others who are in my boat where, we've got this experience and this knowledge, and we go and do our educational training, and we practice, and we have all these different things that really help to give us a lot more value. But how do I convey that without sounding like some kind of an arrogant person or how can I just get that across to them?
Right, and that's a great question, John. Let me also begin tonight by wishing you a very belated birthday. Happy birthday. So I hope
Yep.
you and Lori went out, had a great weekend, and enjoyed. Did you do something fun?
We had some family over yesterday, so it was a good day for that, and we're waiting until after the cataract surgery so I can actually see where we go. And sidetrack, when we go out right now, I can only see about so far, and then everything gets blurry. So people can be 10 feet away, and I don't know who it is. I can see them, shapes, but I can't see facial expressions to know who it is. So if we go out in public, there are people who come up and say, "Hi, John," and I'm like, "Hi, whoever you are."
Yeah. You need one of those little things there in your ear there,
And Lori
can throw you signals. But
Yeah.
anyhow, going back to your question there, selling value it gets a little bit tricky because our clients are only looking for price. That's what they measure by. They measure with green dollar bills, and so they don't want to sound like they don't know what they're doing, because that's a perfect opportunity for a salesman to take advantage of them. And so the one thing that I try to do, John, is I try to ask questions in a series that makes sense to them. For example, you're talking about bridal shows. One of the things I'll ask is I do the 3-3-3 method, which is you've got 3 seconds to capture their attention, wherein you can ask for 3 minutes of their time, during which you can ask 3 questions. So it looks like this. Hi, have you booked your DJ yet? No. Do you have 3 minutes to talk about it? Great. Question number 1: Have you ever hired a DJ before? And that sounds a little bit silly, but it's like most brides 85% of them are at the bridal show haven't done that before.
For sure.
So based on that, you're kind of just putting them into the mode to where it's okay for them to not know what they're doing, and you got to make them okay with it too. You haven't, that's okay. Most of the brides that are here haven't hired a DJ before. What were you hoping for? That's where you're getting into the value portion of it. When you start talking about, have you been to a wedding where you saw something that you really liked, or what is it that you want your guests to experience? That's question number 2, by the way. What are you hoping for in some form or variation? And then question number 3 is, what are you trying to avoid? And now, not one of those questions has anything to do with price. And so you're controlling the direction of the sale, and you're controlling where they go, because they don't know where to go. And if you let them control it, they're going to take you some weird place that's kind of hard to get out of. So you have to, number 1, control the sale. And then number 2, just ask them about what matters to them. Some brides are high priority, that they want the rockin' DJ that's going to drive that party to the best memory and be the gold standard of weddings. Not all brides want that. Some brides have a priority to be the star of the show with a $5,000 or $10,000 gown, or they want the chandeliered Ritz, etc. Some girls, they don't care if they have it at the VFW. In fact, don't judge because of the fact that some of the best weddings can be held at the VFW, but she just wants to do it there because she's honoring her dad, who's been the post captain or what have you at the VFW, and she knows everybody that goes there. So, in getting to the value portion of things, when you're at the bridal show, don't sell value, sell the next step, which is the appointment outside of the bridal show.
Hmm.
Because you've probably done a ton of bridal shows before, John, true?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you know that most brides do not sign contracts at bridal shows. Is that
Very,
accurate
very
statement?
seldom, yes.
Right, and the ones who do end up signing with you, you have to meet again. Fair enough?
Oh, yes.
So the only thing that you have to sell is by hook or crook, get them to the appointment. And that's one of the big mistakes that we do when we try to sell value through our marketing. Selling value through our marketing rarely works. We need to get them one-on-one where we're talking, where we're focused, where we don't have 15 different things going on. And then when we're one-on-one at the appointment, that's where you can start selling and showing value.
So now let's go through those 3 questions again one more time, please. So for those who
Sure.
missed that, because I wanted to dig into the second one a little bit more.
Right. And by the way, this works great on the phone too. This isn't just for bridal shows. It's 333. It's number 1, have you done it before? You want to kind of get them, if they haven't hired a DJ before. And by the way, they have hired before. Great. What was it that you liked about them instead of what were you hoping for? Question number 2 is, what are you looking for? Okay. And then question number 3 is still anything you're trying to avoid. Like, for example, I don't want the guy coming up and being this jerk, cheesy DJ that's being the star of the show and playing all the songs that he wants to play. And he's up there being a DJ scratchy scratch at my wedding. That's an elegant affair. So question number 1 is, have you done it before? Question number 2, what were you hoping for? Question number 3, anything you're trying to avoid. And again, you can mix it up. You've got to make these questions yourself. So one of the things I tell my clients to do is to practice it 10 or 15 times with somebody else before they go into the show. And when you start getting this down, you'll have it down by the 5th bride. Hi there, have you booked your DJ yet? No. Do you have 3 minutes? Great. Tell me a little bit about your wedding. Have you ever had to hire a DJ before? Great. Well, let me give you some ideas of what you might want to look for, and that might help you. Tell me what you were hoping for first. And they'll tell you, well, I saw this one thing, or I don't know. And by the way, some brides, they might say, I don't know. We're in the age of we need to be assertively seeking out our clients because so much is coming at us as consumers that we get into this mind mold of just sitting back and waiting for everybody to come and do their dog and pony show for us. But we can't do that. If we want, we can't just sit back in our booth at a bridal show or with our ad and not use a list that they hand to us. We've got to be assertive with our marketing, and we've got to go after our brides and do it with a friendly yet assertive manner. So, number 1, do you have you booked your DJ? Number 2, do you have 3 minutes? Number 3, 333. So, have you done it before? What are you hoping for? What are you trying to avoid? And after that, John, you should have a match. You should have. It sounds like we got a good match to at least talk after the show. You probably have a lot you have to do here. Most brides like to meet after the show. When's a good time next week on your schedule? And go for the appointment. No, I'll give you another. I know it's not about bridal shows, but since you mentioned it, 50% of the brides there are going to say somehow that they don't have their schedule with them. And we all know that, we keep our schedules
With us.
80% of people are using smartphones now. So, I mean, we know that we can do that. We can figure out a way. So just get their information and try to connect with them afterwards. Again, we're afraid of being sold. So go for the appointment at the show. And then at the appointment, that's where you try to see if you're a match. If you're a match, we should be signing a contract.
On the third question, you asked if there's anything that a person is trying to, or he's trying to avoid. Why did you go that direction? And kind of I'm going to call it a negative, direction as opposed to, hey, have you seen some things that you've liked and you want to make sure you include, going the opposite direction? Why did you go that way?
Great question. And part of it is the psychology of consumerism. It's a psychology of buying, in that we nobody asks us what are we trying to avoid, so we can make sure that we don't do it. Because I'm trying to make a match. I'm not trying to shove my services down your throat. I'm not trying to hold you down and steal your wallet. Now, if you go to 9 out of 10 other people who haven't had this training at the show, what they're going to say is, where's your location, how many guests, what time of day, all these very logical questions, which have no effect. Because true or false, John, if the wedding's in Bemidji, you'll go up there, right?
Oh yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't matter where it's at. It doesn't matter if it's at the Hilton or at the VFW. It doesn't matter if there's 50 people there. It doesn't matter if there's 1,500 people there. You might need to bring a few more speakers, but again, most of this stuff doesn't matter at this stage. At least it doesn't matter. When we're signing a contract, then we need to know that stuff so we can make sure that we're in accordance with everything. But what matters right now is everything that matters to her. And nobody is asking her, what are some of the things that you don't like? Because of the fact that, again, there are things that she might be concerned about. There are things that, like, for example, if she's been married before and she doesn't want to hear her first dance song from the yo-yo that she married before, all these things, there are some things that are perhaps, not always, in the back of her mind. But the fact that you're asking shows that at least you care.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's a different take. And as you mentioned, of course, that typically what the questions that DJs are throwing at her, that's why kind of going in that direction, it's like, is that a kind of a 180?
Yeah. And again, in sometimes when you're getting in the mode of it, you might skip it. It's not going to stop you in your progress. But if you do this most of the way, you're going to do well.
So we haven't talked price yet. You've talked about that, and you mentioned, okay, how about next week? Is it Tom Hopkins? Am I saying the right guy? Was one of the big ones on saying, how about, I'd love to meet with you next week. What works better for you? Tuesday afternoon at 4:00 or Thursday at 1:00, something like that. Giving him options. Have you felt that works better than just say, what would it be open for next week?
I like to, well, there's a lot of technique that's involved there, and you can also there's a third one that is popular where you say, what's your schedule looking like next week? Tell me what works for you, and then go ahead and give me just any time.
Wednesday or 4:00.
Wednesday's really bad for me. What's the next time?
How about Tuesday evening?
Even worse. Go back to Wednesday. What time were you thinking?
I was thinking
You see, and it's like, and again, it's all technique. But if you don't do it smooth, you look like you're using technique, and you don't want to be salesy. So just be genuine and just ask them, what's your schedule look like next week? Do you have a couple of times that we can look at the calendar? And like I said, 50% of the time they're going to get scared because they think that somehow you're going to do a Vulcan mind meld and steal their money out of their bank account or something. So just be genuine and ask them, is there a time next week that meets for you? If she starts saying stuff like, well, I haven't booked my venue yet, and I still have to find these other 3 things, and let me get back to you. Great. If I don't hear from you in the next couple of weeks, would you mind if I touch base with you? Again, keep it open to where you can still try to somewhat control the direction of the sale.
So you mentioned, of course, this technique will work with phone selling and such, and conveying value with that. How would that differ? How would that stay the same?
Right. And again, if you're looking at the psychology, you can't use body language, obviously, to where you're animated or anything like that. So you've got to use a lot of tonality and put a little bit of acting into it if necessary, a little bit of drawl, if you will. But what you have to do is just simply they call up and say, oh, hi, I was just browsing your website, and I was curious about if you're available on June 16th. And what's the second question, John?
And then we would like to know how much you charge.
Great, great. Let me ask you a few questions. You mind if I ask you a few questions really quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Great. Um, Tell me, Ron, have you ever had to book a DJ before?
No, this is my first time.
Right now, here we're on the phone, so it's like we're just going to do this just a
Yep.
strict voice here. Here, I'll put my clipboard so you don't have to look at my hand. Okay, so great, great, congratulations! And had was there anything that you saw out there that you were looking for or hoping for? Any specific things that you liked?
Well, I kind of like to have a DJ who, will get the dance floor going and they'll create a really fun party for everyone. It's probably my
Oh,
biggest thing.
yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, because you probably have some guests coming in from out of town and such.
Yeah, yep. I've got a couple of guests coming in and some family coming in, and just really want to have a rockin' night.
Fun, fun, super. Anything that you've seen out there that you didn't care for so much?
Well, there was these. I've seen some guys out there, and they wear a chicken suit, and geez, I just don't want that at my wedding day. And then I've seen the guys out there who like to, dance on the tables and have a crazy time with that, and get. I don't know if I really want that. We want to kind of do more of an elegant, fun event.
Right, and that's kind of my style, so I think we'll get along just fine. Um, you asked about my prices. Now, my prices typically range, and typically what I like to do is I like to meet. I'm not sure how your schedule looks next week.
Let's see. Next week. Oh goodness, I'm kind of busy, but maybe Tuesday afternoon. Do you have some time on Tuesday afternoon?
It depends on what part of town you're going to be in, or you want to meet at. Would you prefer to meet at my place or
Oh,
Starbucks near
probably on the
your?
east side over by the coffee shop.
Oh, okay, great. I can be over there then because I got to be there later on, so that works. So around 4 o'clock ish.
Yeah, 4 o'clock would be great.
Okay, great. Let me give you my emergency contact. So if you're running into any challenges, then you can call me, and then I'll get yours from you too, and then we'll plan on seeing each other then.
That sounds great.
So, and here I am back. So, anyhow, I do that just because of the fact that I actually close my eyes and I go into the mode so that I can be like I'm on the phone.
Exactly.
But
You're talking. Yes.
right, and so again, the idea is this is not a guaranteed win every time, but you will get better results when you do these things better. So, but then now let's go back to the original premise of selling value. Then we can get in front of her and we can start talking. You haven't done this before, if I'm remembering right. So let me ask you about these things. Are some of these things important to you? You mentioned that you wanted to have this, you wanted that, and that's when you can start talking to her. Well, a lot of DJs will promise you the sun, the moon, the stars, but let me share with you that I've been doing this for a long time, and so I know how to make this happen. Not to mention I've had the training, and I continue to get education on it, just like you would with any true profession. You have to get the best techniques and the best practices, and again, that's when you can sell what your strengths are.
Yeah, and the strength that conveying that strengths and the value is probably the thing that is the biggest struggle I think for so many of us. And I'm guessing you're seeing that. I mean, that's just not a DJ thing. That selling the value must be across the board in the wedding industry.
Absolutely, because again, when you got 85% of your clientele who haven't done this before and they don't know how to do it, they lead with price. And because they lead with price, we also are in an industry that has a high turnover rate. You've seen people come in and they come in, they flash for a moment, then they're gone. And how many people do you know that have been doing this for as long as you have? You can probably count on two hands how many people you know in your area, maybe less than that. But the idea is that they don't take the initial training on how to sell the value because they don't have the value. So they go for price because that's an easy thing that they can do.
For
They
sure.
figured, well, if I'm going out on a Friday night, I'll make $400. I'll be thrilled about that. That's $400 in my pocket because that equipment's going to sit home and collect dust otherwise.
Yep, and then we've heard that numerous times from
Right.
DJs from around the world. That, well, at least I'm making something off the show.
Right. And so then when we who are the professionals who are trying to do this as a real profession, and we're trying to provide a valuable, necessary service, then we can sell against that all day long. if they're willing to listen to us, if their event is important enough, and if they have the priority for what we're doing. They don't always have that priority, by
I'm just checking. Yeah, they're talking about the different little aspects of when you were talking. You haven't talked price in our little scenario, and you mentioned earlier, of course, that people are asking about sound system and travel and all the the logistics early, which really don't matter until we get to the point of writing the contract. So when they're asking about oh, well, what about stairs? What about this? What about that? Really, those are all factors that would come into play when you're sitting down with them and meeting with them and kind of helping to put together their ultimate package of what they would need for the day.
correct. Again, I mean, it's like if you need to lug things up 5 stories of stairs, you can figure that out. And again, you got to figure out if you've been in this for a while, you should know the area, you should know the locations and the venues. If you don't know about the venue, when you're just casually talking, they'll typically mention we're having it at the Westin, at Oak Brook, blah blah blah, and then you'll say, "Oh, the Westin, yeah, I've done something there," or "No, I haven't done anything there before. Tell me more about the Westin. Have you toured through it?" And then they'll tell you more about it, and then you can ask them about the situation. By the way, all this stuff kind of spiders together in the grand strategy. If you haven't been to the Westin at Oak Brook, then a great idea, a month or two before you're there, you call up the event manager for the Westin at Oak Brook and you ask if you can come down and do a site visit because you booked with Valerie on June 16th and you'd like to come make sure that everything's copacetic and we're on the same sheet of music, and introduce yourself.
Yeah,
And then you begin the relationship with the event manager at Westin at Oak Brook. So maybe then they'll throw you some more referrals later on.
for sure. Especially if you go in there and are showing a professional image and such.
Right.
And interesting. Ian mentioned this that he's saying 90+% of his clients only care about price. And of course, then he needs to, in order to give them that price, he needs to know some of those logistics that we were talking about earlier. I mean, there are going to be some people out there who are, it's all about the price. It's all about the number. I need a number and I need it now. But 90%, I think, is a little high. What would your thoughts on that, Rick, be?
Yeah, I would write down everything that's necessary that you're going to charge a higher price for as opposed to staying home. In other words, if this is going to be a deal breaker for you, and you're getting that, I want to take a look at where you're marketing and how you're marketing, because it seems like we're attracting the wrong type of client in the first place. And if we're attracting the wrong type of client through this marketing, then maybe we need to shift that up. But secondary, Ian, if this is 90%, and I'm not challenging you in any way, shape, or form, but let's take a look at what you're looking at, because of the fact that if we're going to charge them $20 extra for going upstairs, and then we're going to charge them extra for that and extra for that, and we've got almost like a cafeteria menu of extra charges, then maybe we just need to raise your prices to include all that stuff, and then start off from that point to begin with, so you don't have to worry about it and you can just worry about selling.
Yeah.
Some people might say, well, how can I raise my prices? I'm going up against a hard crowd anyhow. 90% of raising your prices is right up there. I've worked and I'll prove it to you. If you wrote down 4 prices and you kept your standard price, your opening price as your package number 1, and then you raise your prices the extra $150 to be number 2, and maybe an extra $275 to be in package number 3, and then you made your granddaddy number 4. And this is all part of, again, another different strategy of raising your prices. And I know that Mark Farrell teaches that we need to do what we're worth. Sometimes we get mental about raising our price on how to transfer what Mark is saying, though, to get to the point to where we actually raise our prices. And so there's steps in doing that so that we don't lose our mind and think that we're losing all these customers that we never booked in the first place just because we raised our prices. And they don't know the pricing. So, but I would raise your prices if that's the case. Then you don't have to worry about that.
We got to wrap up in just a minute, Rick. Let's kind of build off that concept of you mentioned, Ian's question that maybe they're not marketing to the right client. They're going to come back, and I've had discussions with DJs. They're like, in my market, that's the only client that exists.
Yeah. Well, and
They all want to do the Walmart type wedding. They're all going to only pay $800. Nobody pays more than that. Thoughts?
okay, well, I just took a position with a big floral conglomerate, and as their education director, and they said the same thing, that we get a lot of these folks who say that in my market, and I get that in photographers, I get it with cake people and venues in my market. In my market, Rick, I can almost finish the sentence now, and let me tell you that again, it's typically it's right there is where your thinking is, and um, start off the question again,
They
because I had another
Yep.
thought
No,
with
that's
another
okay.
direction.
In their market, that they basically everyone in their market is only going to spend $800, or they're only going to. How do you? Is that accurate?
I mean, sometimes yes, most times no. But I don't want to give you an absolute on that, because there are absolutely no absolutes in this business. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, so have I, and I see weird things every week in this business that I say, "Wow, never saw that one coming." But the one thing I would do is shift your marketing, as opposed to trying to put out a message that's owner centric. Put out a message that's results driven. Talk about what you've done in the past by sharing testimonials and really heavy social proof on your marketing. And that's one way to quickly overcome the in my market scenario.
And I think we've had this discussion before. Is that most every market there are some higher level, higher end, higher putting value on the entertainment investment. There's people who are willing to spend more money. There's people who they can't or won't spend money, and then there's people who could spend the money but won't, and they're going to look for the cheapest. I mean, it's all over the board, and it's just really a question, as you said earlier, of marketing to the right people in the right area, and then you can be very successful.
Right, and with the right message, in right
Yeah.
people, the right area with the right message. Because if your message is, we here at ABC DJs are great, and we have Bose systems, and we have 50,000 songs, even though you're only going to play 70 songs that night, the message need to be that, wow, John did such a great job. We never knew a party could be this great. John, bless you for making our evening so memorable for all of our guests. That's going to be more powerful than anything else. And all of you have these testimonials and these people that are just raving fans of yours, and we need to use them more.
That's for sure. Good way to end it there, Rick.
So,
Rick, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to catch up with you?
on my website, getmorebrides.com. And if you haven't signed up for it, the 2016 2017 industry trends is right there on the front page. Sign up for that and get that report. And I think I've still got a couple of sets of some CDs that I'm on my shelf right behind me here that I'm selling for $49. I think you put that out earlier, John.
Yep. And it's in the link below in the description below, gang. You can hit that if you're wanting to invest in and get the CDs. So when you're commuting, you throw them into the car and off you go.
Right. And if you're looking to really jump your game up, let's talk about doing some one-on-one consulting. We can do that over the phone or in person. Unless you're in Minnesota and it's 20 below zero, we got to put you off for a few months on that.
Yeah, then it would definitely be over on the phone.
So listen, John, Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank you.
warm, and please have a safe and good holiday, everybody.
Yeah, we definitely will. Rick, thank you very much for being on. Gang, we're going to be back in about 3 or 4 minutes here with Jordan talking about beginning light shows.